Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Reading's in-person and virtual worship service. My name is Charlene Reynolds-Santo, and I'm a member of the worship arts team. I use she and her pronouns. We choose to share our pronouns because we know people of all genders are holy, whole, and loved. Whoever you are, wherever you are from, whoever you love, whatever your faith tradition, you are welcome here. All are welcome here as we gather to create an understanding, welcoming, and family-friendly community, where we nurture and explore individual spirituality, work to build a committed and loving community, and to help heal the world. For those of us here for the first time, I'd like to extend a special welcome to you. Please visit our webpage at uureading.org to learn more about this beloved community and connect with our staff. For those here in the sanctuary this morning, please feel free to speak to anyone involved in today's service in Fellowship Hall after the service. Now, if you're watching this service online during its original broadcast on May 5th at 9 a.m., please join the Zoom conversation with David Adamson immediately after the service. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Charles. Good morning. My name is Reverend Laura Solomon. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am the minister here at UUCR, and it is a privilege to serve this community and the world with you. As we gather this morning, I invite you to take a breath, allow yourself to arrive. Our opening words this morning come from the Reverend Scott Taylor. We gather as a house of stories, many stories woven fine. As we listen to the tales of those who have gone before, the way in front of us becomes more clear. As we make space for voices long silenced, all of us become more free. As we hear the accounts of those who made it through the dark, courage reigns on each and every one. These stories, friends, I need yours as you need mine. It is how we become whole. Yes, we gather as a house of many stories. Let us listen once again. It is good to be here with you this morning. We light our flaming chalice this morning with Unitarian Universalists all around the globe. I invite you to call into your heart the flame you kindle this morning, the flame of love, of truth, of commitment to justice. Please join in reciting our chalice lighting words, which can be found on the laminated sheet in the backs of your hymnals. In the backs of your pews, not in the backs of your hymnals. Surprised that word came out of my mouth. In the backs of your pews. Good morning, everyone. In the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, we gather this day. May the flame we now kindle be to us a symbol of the holiness we seek. Each week we recite our children's affirmation as a reminder of the most important elements of who we are. Are there any kids who would like to help with our children's affirmation this morning? Come on up. It's good to see you all. Good morning, Ethan. Good morning, good morning. Come on up. We are Unitarian, Universalists, the Church of the Open Mind, the Loving Heart, and the Helping Hands. Thank you for your help. Please rise in body or in spirit as we sing our opening hymn, which is in your hymnal, number 288, All Our Architects.
I'd like to invite the children forward for Time for All Ages. My name is Kimberly. I am the RE coordinator here at UUCR, and I have a story for you. All right. Has anyone ever read the book, The Big Orange Splot by Daniel Pinkwater? It's one of my favorite books. I'm glad that some people know it. So I'm going to tell you this story, and I'm hoping that some of you people in the front might want to get up and act out the story with me as we go. So once there was a man named Mr. Plumbeam, and he lived on a very neat street where all the houses looked the same. And when people would visit, they would say, wow, this is a very neat street. One day, a seagull was flying overhead. Can everybody, well, maybe you people in the front, get up and be the seagull with me? Whoa, imagine you're flying over the houses, and the seagull was carrying a can of orange paint. And they dropped the paint right on Mr. Plumbeam's house, and it made a big orange splot. Can you be the big splot? Splot! Good job. And all of the people in the neighborhood said, oh no, Mr. Plumbeam, you're going to have to repaint your house. And he looked at the spot and he said, I guess I will. Well, the next morning he woke up before anyone else in the neighborhood and he went to the hardware store. Okay, everybody, let's drive to the hardware store. And he got lots of cans of paint. Everybody, pick your paint. Pick up your paint. He got pink paint and purple paint, blue, sparkles, all different colored paint. And he went back home and he painted his whole house with rainbow colors. Let's use our hand like a paintbrush. Swish, swish, swish. He loved it. He thought it looked so beautiful. The people in the neighborhood started to wake up, and they looked at the house and they said, oh no, Mr. Plumbeam, what have you done? Do you think they liked it? No, they did not like it. But Mr. Plumbeam stood tall and he said, my house is me, and it looks like all my dreams. Can you all say that with me? My house is me, and it looks like all my dreams. Well, the next day, he went back to the hardware store. Let's drive there. And he got some palm trees. Anybody want to be a palm tree? Very nice. And he got an alligator and a shovel to dig a moat and some hammocks, and he went back home and decorated his whole front lawn. And the people woke up, and they said, "What have you done, Mr. Plumbeam?" And they said, "Okay, someone needs to go over and talk to Mr. Plumbeam about this. This is getting a little out of hand." And what do you think he says? He stands tall and says, "My house is me, and it looks like all my dreams." Well, one of the neighbors decided, "I'll go talk to Mr. Plumbeam about this." So they walked over, and Mr. Plumbeam said, "Why don't we sit in the hammocks and have some lemonade?" And they sat in the hammocks, they drank lemonade, and they ended up talking for hours about all their dreams. And the next day, that neighbor went to the hardware store, and she bought tons of cans of paint, blue and red and white, and she bought big sails. She went home. Before anyone woke up, she painted her whole house, swish, swish, swish. And she made her house look like a whole big ship because she always dreamed of being out at sea. The neighbors woke up, and what do you think they said? "What have you done? This is getting out of hand." Well, one by one, each neighbor went over and talked to Mr. Plumbeam, sat in the hammocks, drank the lemonade, and they talked about all their dreams. And one by one, every neighbor repainted their house to look like all of their dreams. And when people would come to visit, they would say, "This is not a neat street." And the people, what do you think they would say? "My house is me, and it looks like all my dreams." Thanks for saying that with me. Well, I'm going to open it up to you people right here. Does anyone have a comment about the story? Charlotte? Yes, everything was the same, and he wanted something unique. Yeah. What do you think, Jonah? You wonder why he painted his house? Well, Charlotte said she thinks it's because he wanted to be unique. Maybe I think he was also really inspired by the orange spot. Splot, yes. And do it again, repaint the whole thing. Yes. Well, what I love, there are so many things I love about this story, but the one I want to highlight today is that he was inspired by the splot enough to have a vision of what his whole house could be. And he followed, he trusted the vision, and he made it real. And he followed his creativity, his intuition, and even when the other people in the neighborhood didn't like his artwork, he inspired them to go make their own until the whole street was gorgeous and beautiful and unique. And I would call this the magic of manifestation. Manifestation magic starts with a vision. First, we can imagine or dream of what we want to create. Then we can write it down or draw it, and that's the first step in making it real. And it gets even stronger if we work together with others. When we trust our intuition, our creativity, the truth of our own hearts, we all have the magic to create what we dream of. Thanks, everyone. Let's go back to our seats.
Thank you, Kimberly. I have dreams of making my house look like me now. We take time during our service to light our candles of community, peace, and justice. We light our red candle of community to signify our interconnection. Wherever you are, in time or space, newcomer or longtime member, here in the sanctuary or joining us virtually, we light this candle, holding you in love. This morning, we lift up the Figueredo family. The youngest Figueredo, Gabriel, was dedicated here yesterday with a beautiful private ceremony. Unitarian Universalists dedicate children to acknowledge the truth that each child's life is sacred. The beautiful flowers on the chancel this morning are in recognition of Gabriel's dedication. We also hold in our heart Peter Ritchie, son of longtime member Chris Ritchie. Peter died on April 30th. the day after his 70th birthday. We will have a memorial here at UUCR on Friday, May 10th at 11 a.m. As we light our candle this morning, I invite you to speak aloud the name or names of people who are on your mind and heart, that we might call them fully into this space. Caroline, Aaron. We light our blue candle of peace for all the places worldwide where people live with the threat of war and violence. We continue to pray for those who are suffering in Gaza. The UN said this week that northern Gaza has crossed into full-blown famine. We pray for a ceasefire, for aid, for alleviation of suffering, for clear-headed leaders, for peace. And we light our yellow candle of justice. May all people everywhere live their lives in freedom. And may we each do our part in the work for justice and liberation for all in our global community. As we recommit ourselves to the work of love and justice, let us each voice this commitment by saying amen. Will you join me in a moment of prayer? Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Listen to your breath. Breathe in. Breathe out. Listen for another's breath. Breathe in. Breathe out. Place your hand on your chest, if that is comfortable for you, and breathe in. Breathe out. Some of us hear with our ears the sounds we make, the sounds others make. Some of us hear with our eyes, watch lips and hands and arms and body movements. Some of us hear with our bodies, feel vibrations in the air and on our skin. Breathe in. Breathe out. Listening in the many ways you know how. Together and apart, we are many and one. Breathe in. Breathe out. Listen in the many ways you know how as we enter together into a moment of silence. Amen. If you have a joy or a sorrow you would like to honor through lighting a silent candle, you are invited to come forward now. Thank you, Bonnie. I'm going to invite the children's choir forward. This is the second time we have had our children's choir singing, and I am so excited to have them come up and join us this morning.
So today we are singing Hal and Toe, which is, you can come on up, a song from a traditional old song from the 1600s, and it is all about celebrating May. And this past week was May Day or Beltane on May 1st, and this is one of my favorite fun party songs for that time of year.
We were up long before the day-o, to welcome in the summer sun, to welcome in the May-o, 'cause summer
Really, thank you all.
Our reading today is a scene from the book, A Psalm of the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. This book is about a non-binary tea-monk named Dex and a robot named Mosscap who lived on a moon called Panga.
Let's imagine for a moment, several hundred years ago, the robots left human society and disappeared into the wilderness. Without their robots, the humans had to switch to a sustainable solar punk lifestyle with farms and small communities.
One day, Dex travels far beyond the human communities into the unsettled wilderness. They are shocked to encounter a robot, as humans have not seen robots for centuries. The robot, Mosscap, joins Dex on a road trip into the wilderness to find an abandoned monastery. Dex and Mosscap are both searching to find the answer to the question, what do people need?
At this point in the story, Dex, Charles, and Mosscap, me, are deep in the wilderness searching for this abandoned monastery. As our scene opens, they have sought shelter in a cave. The rain poured incessantly outside, nearly drowning out the mechanical hum of Mosscap thinking. The robot extended one of its glowing fingers and began drawing absent squiggles on the dirty floor. Maybe I'm the wrong one for this.
Dex looked up. The wrong one for what?
Mosscap shrugged, its head bowed. How am I supposed to answer the question of what humans need if I can't even determine what one human needs?
Oh, hey, no. Dex sat up straight. Mosscap, I have been asking myself that question for years. You've been around me for 6 days. This isn't on you. If you don't understand me, that doesn't mean you're not right for this. I don't understand me. What you need is to go talk to people who aren't me. It's like I've said all along, I'm not the right person for you. Down in the villages, you'll find someone better, someone smart, someone who isn't a mess, someone who doesn't do stuff like this. They gestured broadly to the cave, the bruises, the soiled clothes drying on the musty rocks. Gods, why did I do this? They laced their hands in their hair and exhaled deeply.
I didn't think ahead either, Mosscap said. When I volunteered, the question was asked and I said yes, and I didn't think about what it would involve. I simply wanted to go. I didn't think for a minute about what would come next.
Yeah, Dex said. I get that. Neither said anything for a while. The rain drummed down, no longer visible.
What will you do, Mosscap said, when the rain stops?
I'm gonna finish it, Dex said.
Mosscap nodded. And then?
I don't know. They shivered and wrapped their blanket around themselves.
Are you cold?
A little. Dex made an awkward face in the dim light. Mostly just scared.
Of what?
The dark, I guess. I know that sounds stupid.
No, it doesn't. You're diurnal. I'd be surprised if you weren't afraid of the dark. Mosscap considered something. I'm not warm, it said. But Would you feel less afraid if we sat closer together?
Dex looked at the floor. Maybe, they said.
Mosscap made room. I think I would too, it said quietly.
Dex got up and walked several steps over to Mosscap's side. The rocks in the floor were no less pokey. The weird smell no less clowy. But as they sat down, living arm pressed against metal arm, a thread of fear let go. Do robots hold hands? Dex asked. Is that like a thing for you?
It's not, Mosscap said, but I'd very much like to try.
Dex offered an open palm, and Mosscap took it. The robot's hand was so much bigger, but the two fit together all the same. Dex exhaled and squeezed the metal digits tightly. As they did so, the lights on Mosscap's fingertips made their skin glow red.
Oh my, is that... It pulled Dex's hand up and pressed one of its fingertips to theirs, bringing out the red more intensely. Is that your blood? Mosscap looked enthralled. I've never thought to do this with an animal before. I mean, I can't imagine one would let me get this close. Its eyes flickered, its face fell. This isn't the point of holding hands, is it? Already knowing the answer.
No, Dex said, with a kind laugh, but it's cool. Go ahead.
Are you sure?
Dex held up their palm, fingers spread wide. Yeah, they said, and let the robot study them.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, choir. Before we dive into the sermon, I'm going to teach you all a song. It's just 4 lines, and you only have to sing the same line twice. So I want you to just listen once, and then we'll sing it together. Another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing. She is on her way. So your line is just that refrain. She is on her way. Let's sing it through once together. Another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing. She is on her way. So I've been excited about this service and the rest of the services in May since I came up with the idea for it in September. Many of you know that we use Soul Matters, which is a resource that provides us with themes for the year. These broad themes give us ideas for worship, for small group conversations, for our chalice circles, and for projects and curricula for religious education. The Soul Matters theme for May is pluralism. A good definition of pluralism in Unitarian Universalism is that we celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. I also think of pluralism as being about the fact that we pull our wisdom and knowledge from many sources, from science, from intuition, from experience. We pull wisdom and knowledge from Buddhism and Christianity, Judaism, paganism, and more. We pull wisdom and knowledge from religious and secular sources, from one another, from history, and learning from our children. Ours is a pluralistic faith. What I really wanted this year, though, was to be able to talk about one of the sources I pull from frequently, and that is from fiction. Perhaps my most important self-care practice is reading or listening to books. I love audiobooks these days, as they're so easy to borrow through the library app Libby. And yes, obviously I read and listen to a lot of nonfiction that you hear me cite regularly. But I also read and listen to a lot of fiction, historical fiction, classics, young adult fiction, science fiction, high fantasy, magical realism. I love it all. As a teenager, I loved fiction because it helped me to escape the world. Losing myself in a book helped me survive those teenage years. Today, though, I love fiction not only because it can help me to escape the world, but because it helps me to engage the world more deeply. Some of you were here a few weeks ago when we talked about change and the book Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Marie Brown. In that book, Brown, you may recall, draws heavily from science fiction in her work of imagining change in the real world. She writes, "Science fiction is simply a way to practice the future together. I suspect that is what many of you are up to, practicing futures together, practicing justice together, living into new stories. It is our right and our responsibility to create a new world." How can we build a new world together if we can't imagine what it might look like? And if we're going to imagine what a new world might look like, why not let our imaginations run wild? Let's imagine all we can imagine. After all, we can only live into what we can imagine. So why not imagine, create, manifest more? The book Charles and I shared the scene from earlier is one of my favorites. The author, Becky Chambers, has written a number of fabulous books. A Psalm for the Wild Built and its sequel, A Prayer for the Crowned Shy, are some of my favorites. In fact, They captured the imagination of UU ministers everywhere and resulted in impromptu book discussions on Zoom as we all turned to Facebook telling one another, "You have to read this book." These books fall into what has recently been my favorite subgenre of books, hope punk. Has anybody heard of hope punk books? No. Hope punk, this is my favorite thing. Hope punk is a genre of speculative fiction and is described as the opposite of grimdark. It explores resistance and rebellion as counters to apathy, cynicism, and pessimism. One author describes hope punk as people standing up to terrifying regimes and holding the line against them, and surviving against all odds just by force of sheer bloody-minded obstinacy. If ever there was a time for this, it is now. The genre is not utopian. There are not necessarily happy endings or even hopeful ones. But it is based on the idea that goodness, optimism, and the willingness and ability to care are acts of rebellion. The willingness and ability to care is an act of rebellion. We live in a world that is increasingly and frighteningly dystopian. Late-stage capitalism and the rise of fascism will do that. So why not live a hope punk life in this dystopian world? If we need to imagine it with robots and orcs and fairies, even better, why not? Robots and orcs and fairies will perhaps give us more creativity, more imagination, more outside of the box thinking to imagine another world we can create here on Earth. Another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing. She is on her way. In 2014, Ursula Le Guin said, "I think hard times are coming, when we will all be wanting the voices of writers who can see alternatives to how we live now and can see through our fear-stricken society and its obsessive technologies to other ways of being, and even imagine some real ground for hope. We live in capitalism. Its power seems inescapable, but so did the divine right of kings. Power can be resisted and changed by human beings. Resistance and change often begins in art." Imagining is the first step to living change in the world. Mr. Plumbeam, in our story this morning, imagined a new way, a way of living his true self that inspired the whole town to live their true selves. We know that change is the only constant in life. And as we pull our sources of hope and meaning from all the places we find meaningful, we can use them to ground us, to buoy us, to source us with hope and imagination for a better world. We are going to return to sibling Dex, the T-Monk, and Moss Cap, the robot, for a moment. The scene is towards the end of the book, as both Dex and Moss Cap are wrestling with their purpose. Robot hats are tricky. What's the purpose of a robot, sibling Dex? Mosscap tapped its chest. The sound echoed lightly. What's the purpose of me?
You're here to learn about people.
That's something I'm doing. That's not my reason for being. When I'm done with this, I will do other things. I do not have a purpose any more than a mouse or a slug or a thorn bush does. Why do you have to have a purpose in order to feel content?
Because Deck itched at where this conversation had gone. Because we're different.
Are you? Mosscap said flatly. And here I thought you said things had changed since the factory age. You keep telling me how humans understand their place in things now.
We do.
You don't, if you believe that. You're an animal, sibling Dex. You are not separate or other. You're an animal, and animals have no purpose. Nothing has a purpose. The world simply is. If you want to do things that are meaningful for others, fine, good, so do I. But if I wanted to crawl into a cave and watch stalagmites for the remainder of my days, that would also be fine and good. You keep asking why your work is not enough, and I don't know how to answer that. Because it is enough to exist in this world and marvel at it. You don't need to justify that or earn it. You're allowed to just live. That is all most animals do.
Dex turned the mug over and over in their hands. It doesn't bother you, Dex said, the thought that your life might mean nothing in the end?
That's true for all life I've observed. Why would it bother me? Mosscap's eyes glowed brightly. Do you not find consciousness alone to be the most exhilarating thing? Here we are in this incomprehensibly large universe, on this one tiny moon around this one incidental planet. You and I, we're just atoms that rearranged ourselves in the right way, and we can understand that about ourselves. Is that not amazing?
Yes, but that's what scares me. My life is it. There's nothing else on either end of it. All I have is right now. And at some point, it'll just end. And I can't predict when that will be. And if I don't use this time for something, if I don't make the absolute most of it, then I have wasted something precious. Dex rubbed their aching eyes. How does the idea of maybe being meaningless sit with you?
Mosscap considered. Because I know that no matter what, I'm wonderful, it said. There was nothing arrogant about the statement, nothing flippant or brash. It was merely an acknowledgement, a simple truth shared. The world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing. She is on her way. May we live with creativity and imagination and hope into a new world, knowing that no matter what, we are wonderful. Amen.
Each Sunday, UUCR gives half the money received in the collection plate to a nonprofit organization that shares our UU values. It's a simple yet powerful way for each of us to help heal the world. Our Share the Plate recipient for the month of May is Reading Juneteenth Freedom Festival. The 14th annual Juneteenth Freedom Festival will be held on Saturday, June 15th, on the Reading Town Common, celebrating the anniversary of the freedom granted to enslaved African Americans. Freedom Fest centers around food, music, and celebrating Black culture. Entertainment will include live musical performance and a DJ. There will be food and beverages, including culturally Black cuisine options. There will also be a pop-up marketplace featuring BIPOC vendors and organizations with anti-racism or DEIA-focused missions. Our congregation thrives and survives through the gifts of those who call this place their spiritual home. If you are here with us in the sanctuary, you may put your gift in the plate as it goes by. Otherwise, you may make a gift online or send in a check. Please give as generously as you are willing and able to our Share the Plate offering to support Reading Juneteenth Freedom Festival and the mission of UUCR. Now, if this is your first time with us, your presence is gift enough.
This little light of
Thank you. I'm Melissa Martin, your Member Services and Volunteer Coordinator, and my pronouns are she and her. I would like to invite Astrid Puff, our Religious Education Assistant, up for a very quick message from RE.
Hi, everyone. So first of all, thank you to all the youth who participated in our t-shirt symbol contest. And most of all, thank you to our winner, Lucian, for the beautiful design that is on this year's shirts. All funds, yes, yay! Yay, Lucian! So all funds raised from the t-shirt sale will go to UNICEF to send life-saving aid to children in Gaza. Take action by buying a t-shirt and or coming to our Mother's Day for Peace event on May 12th after service, when we will be sending our prayers and songs out into the world for peace. And you can find our t-shirt table at coffee hour. Thank you.
Thank you, Astrid. Welcome to the month of May and the beautiful opportunities both inside and outside of the sanctuary. As I shared in my column in the Church News, I have been thinking a lot about our vision for church, and this quote by Reverend Dr. Mark Morrison Reed struck me as important for both our monthly theme of the gift of pluralism and the visions that we hold for this beloved community. The quote is, "The religious community is essential, for alone our vision is too narrow to see all that must be seen, and our strength too limited to do all that must be done. Together, our vision widens." So join us in widening our vision during the month of May. Our congregational meeting is Sunday, May 19th after service. The warrant will be in your inbox this morning momentarily. And next week, you'll receive an email with some additional reports. The May meeting is hybrid, so you can join us in person or via Zoom. If you're curious about our church governance and what it looks like, or you're curious about membership, you can get to know us better and learn more at our UU Basics class today after service. And if you feel ready to make this place your spiritual home, our next New Member Sunday ceremony is planned for June, and we would love to include you. I have some save the dates. We're going to be hosting this year's baccalaureate service led by the Reading Clergy Association, and we would love to have you help us welcome the greater community. There's also things in the newsletter about our Reading Pride Parade, the Juneteenth Freedom Festival, and finally the North Shore Pride Parade. We hope that you can be proud together with us as we march. This week, you're invited to Buddhist meditation, social crafty drop-in, and our Liberal Ladies and Friends. If you're available to greet and support for the Ritchie family this Friday morning for the memorial service for Peter, please let me know. So for today, please grab a beverage, snack from Social Hour. Thank you to the Olivia Mason family, to Allison and Dakota for making that possible. And then friends, join me and Reverend Laura to learn more about this congregation in Loring House at 11:30. Thank you all for being a part of our congregational life. And now please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our closing hymn. It's number 311, Let It Be a Dance. We're going to sing verses 1 and 3.
Let it
As we extinguish our chalice, please join me in speaking the words printed on your laminated sheets. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. May you go out into the world so full of terror and wonder and hope, remembering that no matter what, you are wonderful, and a better world is on her way. Amen.